Hello, and thank you for joining me for this first episode of Tea Time with Crystal Clarity. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me and that has been extremely helpful to me through my journey, and that's energy awareness. When we begin to think about energy, we think about being tired, we may think about our aura, we may think about things like Reiki, but often we are not thinking about the basics of energy. Um, we're simply not aware of them. And this is one of those first steps into becoming more aware of what is around us, what is affecting us, and what is beneath the surface. We spend so much of our time with just very basic, simple understandings of things. And while these simple understandings can be helpful, they can also lead us to confusion and to doing the wrong things without even realizing it. And so when we move into a deeper awareness, we begin to look at things like energy, and we begin to break down those principles in a way that allows us to see that all things are energy. We are energetic beings. All the things around us are made up of energy. The food that we eat provides energy for us. The reason that we sleep is to create more energy. Everything that we do is based in energy. And so when we begin to understand this principle and we begin to embrace it in a new way, we can then begin to work on a more metaphysical level. Up to this point, everything has been if I can touch it, if I can taste it, if I can see it, if I can feel it, if I can hear it on a very physical level. When we begin to become more aware of energy and the principles of energy, we begin to move beyond these basic principles of sight and sound and our physical functions. And we begin to notice a very subtle movement that's happening behind the scenes. And this is actually our energy, our energetic bodies. And when we become in tune with our energy and how we are affected by the energy outside of us, how we're spending our energy, how we're relating to others by using our energy and exchanging energy with them, how we even use our energy to manipulate situations, to draw things in, to push them away. As we become aware of these things, we begin to empower ourselves in a new and different way. Understanding the principles of energy begins to make things much easier. Instead of having to go out and do and pick things apart, we begin to be able to see them from this energy perspective. And from this perspective, things fall together more easily. And we're able to relate to things in a different way. We are able to understand that either things flow or they're blocked. And through this basic understanding of flow and blockage, we can then begin to understand what creates flow for us and what creates blocks. And when we understand this, we really begin to create our own experience. When I understand that when I subject myself to these experiences, it creates more of those experiences, or it creates an experience that makes me unhappy or uncomfortable, I can then begin to look at how I'm being affected, why I'm being affected that way, and what it is that I can do to begin to change that. Now, when we begin working with energy, we have to begin to pull out a whole new set of tools in some ways. And yet in others, we are just expanding on the tools that we have already begun to use. If we have already began an awareness process where we've began to become aware of our thoughts and our emotions and how our physical reactions to these things are affecting us, we've already got a good basic understanding of energy awareness. Um, our thoughts are the beginning of our creative or energetic process. Our thoughts begin a momentum that then creates an emotional reaction. This emotional reaction is actually energetically charged by our energy center or signature, and then we are prompted to react based on this signal, this emotional energy based signal. We respond. And whether we feel good about the emotion that has been created or whether we feel bad is going to directly affect how we react and the energy that we have stored to react. And so, as you see, I have a thought which creates an emotional reaction or an energetic reaction in my body. This reaction in my body then causes me to create more energy that then creates a physical reaction or response. And so, as I become more aware of how I'm being affected and how I'm responding, I can then become more in control of what it is that I'm creating. And so, let's take a moment to look at some of the ways that energy affects us. And as you can tell already, just by the few things that we've touched on, this is a very expansive subject. And so it goes from very simple, basic understandings of eating and sleeping to a much more vast thinking of, or a much more vast understanding of that each and everything that I do creates energy. Each and every time I relate to someone, I'm exchanging energy. And anything that I create doing so using the energy that I have stored in my being. And so we have three different levels just here that we're looking at. And these are really the most simplistic levels. Um, where is our energy coming from? Our food, our sleep, our interactions. How is that energy affecting us? And how can we become more in control of that? And so, really, as with all things that we discuss, all of these levels feed into each other and can work backwards, forwards, or in between. And so, when I begin to look at what I'm eating, I begin to understand when I'm looking at food from an energy perspective, the whole reason that I'm eating is because I'm asking the food to provide me with energy that I'm not able to create on my own. And so, from this basic understanding, I can begin to um, become aware of the fact that if I eat something, I'm taking on its energy. And so, whatever level it's vibrating at, that is the level of vibration that I'm taking on. I also have to take into consideration that when I'm digesting this food, it's going to take a certain level of energy from my physical body to do this. And so, am I digesting a food that is creating energy, or am I ingesting a food that is actually depleting energy? And so then I am depleting myself by eating it and depleting myself further in the digestive process. When I'm eating something that's healthy and supportive, it's going to help to cleanse my body. It's going to help to reproduce healthy cells. It's going to support a higher vibration throughout my being. One of the reasons that we eat is to produce healthy cell function. And so, if the food that I'm eating to reproduce these cells is not of a healthy vibration, the cells that are reproduced are going to be of a less quality, hence affecting my overall physical vibration. If what I eat is of a very high quality vibration, which means that it is natural and that it is supportive to my bodily functions, it is going to recreate cells that are also higher vibrating. And so we can begin to look at food from this perspective. Sleep is another very simplistic way that we are affected by energy. We sleep in order to create more energy. As the body sleeps, we create new energy, and then when we wake, we spend that energy. Ideally, we create more energy than what we're spending each day. Unfortunately, that's usually not the case. Often, we're stuck in the belief that sleep is the only way that we can create energy, um, with the exception of eating and caffeine, which is one of our favorites. Um, Caffeine, unfortunately, does give us more energy, but it tends to be an anxious energy. And when we are running off of an anxious energy, we are going to be creating an anxiety. And so, again, we are looking at what we're ingesting and how it's affecting us. It is obviously better to be able to create energy from sleep. We can also create energy simply by relaxing and allowing ourselves to be present by breathing deeply, creating a relaxing environment. Can allow ourselves to take short naps, can allow ourselves rest, time in nature, time in the sun helps to recharge our energy. So there are lots of natural things that we can do. A lot of people find that crystals, oils, animals, the earth herself, plants, a lot of these things are also helpful in bringing us into a higher vibrating energy. Because these things are naturally high vibrating, they share their high vibration with us. They are naturally in overflow, and so they're naturally sharing that overflow with us when we are open to it. And so implementing higher vibrating tools can be a very useful thing. And so we're seeing here that there are lots of different ways of looking at our vibration and understanding the things that are affecting our vibration. The next thing we look at when we look at energy are energy exchanges. And energy exchanges happen either with people or when we're creating something new. And so when we are exchanging energy with others, we are literally giving to them what we have inside and allowing them to give back to us what they have inside. And when we function from this level of exchange, sometimes what we're giving and receiving isn't of the highest quality of vibration. And so it's again another point of awareness for us. Are the energy exchanges in my relationships helpful and healthy? Not only for me, but for the people that I'm exchanging this energy with. Oftentimes, when we start to look at these things, we look from a very surface perspective. And we notice that the energy that they're giving doesn't feel good. But we don't notice the energy that we're giving. And so this is a very important thing as well, is to begin to notice what it is that we have to give and why it is that we are keeping ourselves at that level and what we can begin to do to change that level of vibration in order to change the level of exchanges that we're having. We also may want to look at the people in which we are exchanging energy. We have created, with the energy that we have practiced up until this point, we have created relationships and patterns in which we follow in order to exchange energy in these relationships. If we have been in a low vibrational energy up until this point, oftentimes our relationships and our exchanges are going to be of a low quality vibration. In these cases, it's time for us to start again beginning to become aware of this and noting and noticing how are these relationships serving us or not serving us? How are we being of service to these relationships or not of service to them? And how can we begin to bring better energy to the table? Sometimes this means that we have to draw new boundaries in our relationships. Sometimes this means that we change our behavior in such ways that the people that we were formerly relating with are no longer interested in relating with us. And so then we have to take into consideration what that means for us. Sometimes we're no longer interested in relating with the people that we've been relating with. And we also have to take that into consideration and decide how we want to deal with that and what that looks like for us. The same thing with our situations and with things that we're creating. When we become aware of our energy, we oftentimes will realize that we are creating the wrong things for ourselves. That we're believing that we need one thing, and when we take a deeper look at it, what we realize is that what we really need is something completely different. And so we can then again begin to focus our energy on creating things differently for ourselves. In this very short time, I have covered the gamut of ways that we are affected by energy, and I have just barely scraped the surface. It's a lot of information, it's a lot to take into consideration. It's a lot to notice, especially at first. When we've been living blindly and unaware of how we're affecting our environments, how we're affecting ourselves, how we're exchanging energy, how we're creating energy. When we haven't been aware of these things, becoming aware can seem like a lot of work. It can be a great challenge. It can be frustrating. Sometimes it just seems easier to give up. However, the understanding here is that at first it is a lot of work because we haven't practiced it. We haven't practiced it because we haven't been aware of it. And so, in our unawareness, we have practiced things that do not feel good. And in the practice of those things that do not feel good, we have become used to and accustomed to not feeling good. And so we've become comfortable at that level of not feeling good. I like to call it uncomfortable comfort, or um, being comfortably uncomfortable. And when we find ourselves in this comfortably uncomfortable place, we don't like it, but we know we can survive there. And so oftentimes when we start to reach for something better and we feel the challenge of it, we go, "Oh, this is harder than what I've been doing. I would rather go back to being comfortably uncomfortable." What we have to understand is that it's really, again, just a choice of energy exchange. If we decide to stay comfortably uncomfortable, each day we will spend a lot of energy just trying to maintain this comfortable discomfort because we're constantly being called to make changes. And when we don't make those changes, we bump into things that don't feel good. These bad feelings are energetic signals that we don't like where we are and what we're doing. And so we're constantly practicing feeling bad and we're constantly feeling bad, and we're dragging through life at the same momentum. And the universe is okay with us doing this. And many of us spend our whole lives here. However, many of us are finding that we're being called to do something more, to feel better, to find something better for ourselves, to reach for a better feeling, to have a deeper understanding, to move into a new space where things can be good, where we can create from a place of excitement, where we can begin to feel joy. This is where creation really begins. This is when life really starts to feel good. This is when possibilities really start to open up. But it's a choice. It's a choice that we have to make. And each of us make it in each present moment by deciding whether we want to stay comfortably uncomfortable or whether or not we're willing to stretch and to look for new answers and find deeper understandings and reach for new tools that work for us and to be with where we're stuck and ask ourselves what that stuckness is about and what we're willing to do and how we can focus our energy in a new way that shows us how to get unstuck. Sometimes that focus creates a temporary discomfort that can be really, really uncomfortable. But it's having faith in ourselves that we're going to continue to do the work and that it's going to pay off. And the more often we do the work and see the payoff, the better we get at believing in ourselves, the more confident we become, the more willing we become to do the work, knowing that there will definitely be a payoff. Staying in the comfort zone and being uncomfortable happens because there's certainty there. As we teach ourselves that there is a level of certainty in our movement and in change, that things will get better, that things can feel better, that we can have more control, that we can create more and better energy, that we can create better energy exchanges and better relationships, that we can use this higher vibrational energy that we're creating to create new opportunities for ourselves, to create joy, to create laughter, to create monetary flow, to create a new business, to create a new hobby. We are creative beings, and depending on where our energy vibration is going to depend on what we create. And it's through this awareness that we empower ourselves to create from a new space. If we're willing to do the work, if we're willing to move from the comfortably uncomfortable and embrace this temporary feeling of overwhelm, moving past the fear, moving past the doubt, and learning to move into a place of faith and into a better momentum, the sky becomes the limits. We are able to embrace ourselves in a new way. We're able to embrace life in a new way. And from this place, everything changes. If you're ready to begin to embrace this for yourself, I encourage you to begin to exploring energy awareness on a deeper level. Begin to notice, what are you thinking about? How are you feeling? How do those feelings invoke reactions? And what do those reactions create in your day-to-day? What are you eating? How are you sleeping? What are you doing with your time? And how is it making you feel? How are those feelings promoting thoughts that are creating new reactions that are either moving you forward into the momentum that you want to be in, or moving you backward into that place where you've always felt stuck and uncomfortable. What are you ready for? What do you want to create in your life? If you're ready for something new and something different, I want to support you in that in any way I possibly can. I've created Crystal Clarity with the intention of helping others in places that I struggle to find help myself. I've personalized Crystal Clarity services in order to allow you to be met where you are. Whether you find yourself struggling to move at all, or whether you find yourself having 5 great days where everything is in the greatest vibration and then a crash day, or whether you're just uncertain where you are or where you need to go. Reiki is a wonderful tool. It can help us to clear out old blocks. It can help us to begin to look deeper at what's going on internally. It can begin to help us let go of what's no longer serving us. And it can do this on an energetic level of non-resistance. Meditation is another beautiful and wonderful gift that can be helpful. And through creating our practice, which is a wonderful 4-week series that Crystal Clarity offers, you can begin to learn to use meditation in a way that not only helps you to slow down your thinking and thoughts and notice what's going on around you, but to also help you to begin to notice what's happening with you on an energetic level and how you can begin to control your energy and create energy in a way that supports you. Personal guidance can also be another wonderful, wonderful tool that helps you to simply reflect on where you are, to notice where you might be getting stuck, to speak your truth in a place that feels safe, where you won't be judged or condemned for being different or for sounding out there or woo-woo. All of these things can be very supportive to you if you're able to be open to them and able to just have a little bit of trust. Again, as we learn to practice new things, we have to have a good experience that will feed us into a momentum that will want to make us repeat that action. And so if I'm able to experience Reiki or personal guidance or meditation or any variety of tool in a way that creates a positive feeling within me, that feeling is going to create more positive reactions. And those reactions are going to lead me to feeling better. And that feeling better is going to remind me to go back and use this tool when I'm not feeling so good or when I'm trying to maintain a good feeling vibration. I hope that you're able to take all that we've talked about today and begin to implement it into your day of today experience. It is a lot to absorb, and it may be helpful to review this video more than once and to take things one at a time. When we try to jump into it all at once, it can be very overwhelming. We get confused, we get frustrated, and we lose our way giving up easily and moving back into that comfort zone. You may decide to start with your diet. You may decide to start with your thinking. You may decide to start with your energy exchanges. Whatever feels right to you is perfectly right. Allow it. Notice it. Expand on it. Maybe you want to play with a few things at a time. Maybe you want to implement a few things into your diet and a few things into your daily routine. Take what works, let go of what doesn't, expand on what feels good, release what doesn't. Know that what works for one person may not work for another. Know that what works one day may not work the next. This is a constant process of self discovery. Wherever we are vibrationally is going to affect what works and doesn't work and how we respond to outside stimuli, the food that we eat, the amount of sleep that we're able to get. We're constantly being affected by all of these different things. And so, again, the more that we are able to practice, the more that we're able to become aware of, the more that we're able to notice, the more in control of these things we become, and the more we're able to focus and allow ourselves to find ourselves in that good feeling place. Each of these things are small pieces of the puzzle that if we'll take them one at a time and allow them to piece themselves together slowly and naturally, eventually we will find the puzzle comes together very easily. If we allow ourselves to get frustrated and try to force ourselves into being somewhere that we're not, we will often find that the puzzle edges will begin to become bent and the pieces will become frayed and it becomes impossible to see where they fit, and we find ourselves in a world of confusion. Slow down, relax. Remember that it's not that serious. Remember that when you know you're in control, you are. And that when you allow other things to control you, they will. Your focus is your greatest, most powerful tool. Your breath is always with you and will remind you of your natural flow. Implementing awareness to the breath and the thought are two of the most powerful things that you can do to begin your journey of awareness and self-discovery. I look forward to our next journey together